beautiful community. Welcome to this chat about Putin's parade from hospital. It went well for the tyrant from the Kremlin, who looked confident with a sense of history being on his side. Forgive my machine beeping. The symbolic power of Putin and Xi sitting together is that they are bringing forth a new future in which a certain kind of authoritarian system that we could call a monarchical system, the idea that there's just one person who has political legitimacy there, is becoming more of a default, not just globally, but also inside the West. And so what's so symbolically powerful there is that we are losing to Putin not just globally, but we're losing to Putin at home. And Xi and Putin are beating us, but they're beating us because we're losing, not so much because they're winning. It's embarrassing for the United States that their lame attempts to conceptualize what it might mean to untether Russia from China have not materialized with successful results in practice. But despite that, the Russo-Chinese quasi-alliance that is currently dictating security arrangements in Eastern Europe is actually fragile and is actually disbalanced and on some dimensions unsustainable. It's just that the alliance is currently riding high because of global forces, more than because of the particular nature of Russia's relationship with China. It's an uneven relationship, and it's a relationship in which the Russians are getting a very bad deal that's going to become a progressively worse deal. And it's just really, really toxic, this parade, because it taps into Russia's World War II myth and links it not just to Putin's invasion of Ukraine and Putin's rearrangements of his relationship with the United States under Trump, but it links it with a certain kind of somewhat nihilistic vision of the future that is sort of imbued with various kinds of magical thinking, various kinds of post-truth elements, but it's the vision of the future of the Putin regime. And in that vision there's some kind of propulsion of Russia from the back row to the front row of nations. And that's very problematic for Russia, because the central Russian cultural myth is the myth of the Second World War. That's to say that one of the things that holds Russia together as a country is its capacity to align around certain images and thoughts to do with World War II. Putin's exploitation of that myth is very ideological exploitation, that's to say, ideas about history being manipulated to serve the interests of those in power. But Putin's exploitation of it makes the myth progressively unrescuable. And a very interesting argument can be made to say that it's much harder for Russia to sustain a sense 50 years, 100 years from now of what holds all the people on the territory together unless 4 or 5 key ingredients are in place, one of which is this myth of the Second World War, which Putin is toxicifying to such a grave extent that it might become sort of non-rescuable. Right? There's all kinds of awkward historical narratives and lovely historical narratives that can be rectified. Putin's making the prospect of the rectification of Russia's World War II myth in the future more of a distant reality. So I think that's where we are. These guys are not winners. We didn't see many winners there, sitting next to Putin. But we saw folks who are riding historical forces that are pushing against the kind of world we in the West want to see. So these aren't winners. These are folks favorably washed up by history at a moment when we at home are struggling, and we're going to reflect very deeply on what we can do to arrest our struggles. Lots of love, beautiful community.